Hello everyone, it's Foo here, and today I want to talk to you about Beheeyem, a really interesting psychic type Pokemon that's definitely going under the radar because there are so many psychic types in Sword and Shield. I'll talk to you about the buffs and how it really sets itself apart. But first, if you enjoy this kind of content, please let me know by leaving a like so that I can bring you more. And if you want to see more, consider subscribing and clicking the notification button. So Beheeyem is a psychic type that was introduced with a ton of psychic types in Generation 5. Its main selling point really is its massive special attack stat paired with the analytic ability. This boosts its damage by 1.3 times if it moves last. And it's very slow, so that's very likely, so it's a really hard hitter. Previously, it was kind of a low tier Trick Room staple, very good Trick Room setter, and it hits so hard with the choice specs as well, so you could just put it on a team with choice specs and it could do its own damage. So what's new in Pokemon Sword and Shield? Well, the first thing that I want to talk about, which I think is a really interesting change, is that it now learns Destiny Bond. And this wasn't an introduction with TM or TR, this is actually a new egg move it gets, so it's a real change for Beheeyem. And I think that Destiny Bond is really interesting for this Pokemon because it benefits a couple of sets. The first one is Trick Room, so this can be a Focus Sash Trick Room setter, and that allows you on the second turn to either attack with your powerful attacks, or if you've not got a good matchup, you can just go for Destiny Bond, hoping to take the opponent down with you. So out of those first turns, you'll have gained Trick Room and taken a Pokemon out for them just taking a Pokemon out. So that's a really nice way of using like a lead Trick Room Beheeyem. It is important to note though that Destiny Bond doesn't work on Dynamax Pokemon, so you have to really consider that. And actually it's a lot better in the formats where Dynamaxing isn't allowed or you aren't able to do that, but it is usable in other formats too, especially as that Trick Room lead. People generally tend to keep their Dynamax for the late game, so that allows you to try to use Destiny Bond in the early game, and even if they have Dynamax, you can just hit them with powerful attacks anyway. It's not really a waste of a move slot. The second buff that it's got is actually access to another setup move. Beheeyem already has access to a ton of setup moves, but this one is really interesting and very unexpected because it now gets access to agility. Agility boosts its speed by 2 stages, and this Pokemon is obviously very slow, but at +2 speed when it's max speed, it's actually faster than Jolteon, so it's really fast, and no one will see this coming. I mean, if someone sees a Beheeyem, it's likely that they won't know what it does at all, but if they do know what it does, they're probably expecting Trick Room, so you can actually pull the agility and completely take them off guard, which is really neat. It also pairs well with the Destiny Bond change that we just talked about because it allows you to agility, do as much damage to the opponent as possible, and then when you're about to go down, you can click the Destiny Bond, you'll be faster than the opponent so they won't see it coming, and you can hopefully take out a Pokemon there as well. Alternatively, you could use a different setup move in combination with agility. Beheeyem has always had access to Nasty Plot, so you can pair agility and Nasty Plot together to make a double dance set that will hit really hard. Its psychic type attacks will be very hard to resist. It is worth noting though that one of Beheeyem's biggest flaws is its lack of coverage. It does have a lot of coverage moves, so it's got all of its psychic type attacks, it's got Energy Ball, Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball, but nothing really to hit Dark type super effectively. It used to have Signal Beam, but that was removed from the game, which is really infuriating, and it means that you have to rely on these other coverage moves. Dark Pulse is generally quite a good one because it does hit other psychic types, as well as dropping the opponent's special defense if you Dynamax, so it's a pretty good one to run, or alternatively Thunderbolt, because that can catch some things like Corviknight that would resist your psychic type attacks. But it is also worth thinking on these agility sets, you might just want to run 3 coverage moves because that will help you cover for some of the dark types. You could run Energy Ball for Tyranitar and Thunderbolt for Corviknight, for example. The next buff that I want to talk about is actually Teleport. So Teleport changed, the mechanics are completely different this generation. Previously you just use it to escape from battle, but now it's actually a -4 priority move that allows you to switch out your Pokemon. And why this benefits Beheeyem is that it's actually pretty useful on choice spec sets. So these are really offensive sets, and you generally put it on an offensive team or maybe a balanced team as a breaker. But what it allows you to do is take your opponent off guard by switching out and keeping your momentum. So this is actually better in singles formats where you've got 6v6 because there's a lot of switching and positioning there, and that's why I'm showing showdown footage here. But what it means is when your opponent sees the Beheeyem and wants to switch out because they know they're about to lose a Pokemon, you could actually go for Teleport instead, predicting that you'll have a bad matchup, and that will allow you to bring in something else that can get some KOs. So I think it's a really cool option for Beheeyem. It's not always going to be the one you want. You might want Trick instead of Teleport, for example, but I think that it's a really interesting choice, and I think it could really work out on some teams that prioritize kind of getting hazards up and then using U-turn and Volt Switch, and this will be another way to keep the momentum on your side. So I really like that change to Teleport, and I think that Beheeyem can definitely take advantage. The last buff that I want to talk about is that Beheeyem now gets access to stored power, and that is so significant because, as I said, Beheeyem has always had access to a ton of setup moves. It's always had Nasty Plot, which a lot of Psychic types did not get before this generation. It has Calm Mind, it used to have Barrier, that was unfortunately removed from the game, but you can still boost your defenses with Cosmic Power, which is a really nice partner to Stored Power, as well as also now getting Agility, as I said, because boosting your speed will also boost the power of Stored Power. And it's also great this generation because you do have the Dynamax capabilities where you can maybe have Flash Cannon that would turn into Max Steel Spike, giving you defense boosts. So there are so many ways to boost your stats this generation, and Beheeyem has so many options to use a stored power set. It is important to note that there are other Psychic types that definitely can fill this niche, and so you might want to look elsewhere for bulkier Pokemon or Pokemon with Magic Guard ability, but where Beheeyem stands out is that you can really choose which setup move you want to run, whereas a lot of Psychic types probably will just be going for the Calm Minds or other setup moves. This one, you can run Cosmic Power, for example, as well as Nasty Plot, and then have Recover and Stored Power, and that would be a really interesting set. Alternatively, you could run Cosmic Power and Agility with Stored Power, because you're boosting your defenses, then you're boosting your speed when it's easy to set up, and automatically you'll have a very, very strong stored power. So that's really, really cool. But for those of you who are worried about hitting dark types, because that's obviously a problem for Beheeyem, who doesn't have the coverage to do that, you could always run a weird Trick Ring Target set. So what the Ring Target does, it's an item that you hold and it makes you vulnerable to attacks that you're usually immune to. So if you come across a dark type and you've got some cosmic powers up so they can't really damage you too much, you just then have to trick them, the Ring Target, and then they can be hit by your stored power and that can take them out. So that's a really cool way of using Beheeyem. I think this Pokemon is fascinating. It's got so many interesting sets and weird ways to use it. You definitely have to craft it differently to other Psychic types, but that an analytic boost paired with its crazy special attack stat means that it will always be putting out damage. If you force a switch, you get the analytic boost and it's going to decimate something, so I really advise you trying Beheeyem. I hope I've sold you on this Pokemon because I'm pretty sold. I really like using it. Definitely underrated, and I do think that there are other Psychic types out there that probably are more versatile, but this thing definitely has niches and I enjoy using it. If you want to get your hands on an analytic Beheeyem, then go over to my Twitter account. I'll be trading out some analytic Elgyem. I've already promised to trade out some hidden ability Espers, which I haven't done yet. I shiny hunted this and I've got like so many hidden ability Espers to trade out. So if you want a hidden ability Esper or an Elgyem, then go over to my Twitter account because I will be trading them out soon. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know by leaving a like, subscribe for more and click the notification buttons. That's all for today. I've been Foo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.